just tell them about some of your memories of fighting in the war and why you went over and things like that.
Was it Vicky sent you a card, Bob?
Huh?
Did Vicky send you a card?
He's getting taped right now, Mom.
Oh, okay.
So.
They on?
Well, they're not on. I'm recording it.
Hey, this is Papa. Great Papa.
Big old ugly Papa.
Yeah. Tell you a little bit about the war. I was scheduled to
Was
go.
it the Civil War?
No.
The Great
Revolutionary War? Which war?
The 100-Year War. I spent 98 years in the 100-Year War. But I was scheduled to go to China. And your mother and I got married in Sarasota as a wedding gift. They transferred me to Meridian, Mississippi to learn how to fly the P-51. I was flying the P-40. And instead of going to China, I went to England, went over on the Queen Mary, took 3.5 days, no convoy.
Really, by yourself? No escort?
No escort. Queen Mary could outrun any torpedo.
Wow, how fast could it go?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't.
You didn't clock it?
No, but we landed at Glasgow and then went to Boxhead. I became a member of the 34th Fighter Group, which is the only group in England that had the P-51, which was capable of long range to fly with as escort for the bombers. So that's what I did up until April. Then I was transferred to a unit called, let's see what it was, ADLS. That stood for Advanced Letter Delivery Service. And we were attached to the Supreme Headquarters. We were flying Spitfires. The Mark V Spitfire was the World War fighter that used in the Battle of Britain over the Loot Wall. And it was the only plane that was capable of landing on Utah Beach. So after the invasion, we flew orders from London to Cherbourg and then brought back the reports from the various commanders. And we did that until we had a pretty big group beachhead there. And then they transferred me to the 363rd Fighter Group.
Was that Mogan's Marauders?
Pardon?
Was that the one that's called Mogan's Marauders?
No, no. I didn't go with them until the P-51 was an excellent high-altitude fighter, but it was so vulnerable to ground fire that it couldn't be used for, when we were flying air cover for the Patton's Third Army. So they switched us over to the 362nd Fighter Group, which was flying the P-47. It was a radial engine, a double bank, and it was one of the biggest planes in the air as far as fighters concerned. It weighed 7 tons.
Good night.
But it was really took a lot of damage and still flew. And I stayed with them until I was sent home in November of '44 to go to the hospital in Miami Beach. And then we stayed down there about 5 weeks until I was discharged from the hospital. And then we went to Yuma, Arizona. And when I was flying down there, I flew the P-39 and the P-63. The P-39 was the Era Cobra and the P-63 was the King Cobra. And I also flew the B-17 while I was down there.
I didn't know you flew bombers at any time.
Yeah. I flew 2 different kind of bombers. I flew the B-26 in one mission and several other times. and I flew the B-17 in Yuma, Arizona. And I was down there in Yuma, Arizona until almost the end of the war. I mean, I had enough points to get out, so we decided to go ahead and get out. We got out. I was discharged on July 7th, 1945.
So you stayed in through VE Day and got out just before VJ Day.
Right.
Wow.
We went back to Jackson, Mississippi, and we were on a trip to Conahadas, where WB, Darlene's father, had a lot of family there. And coming back, the announcement come over the VJ Day was through, and no more gas rations. So I threw my gas once out the window, and I pulled to the station to fill up. And I had to argue like mad.
So I heard this on the radio, I promise.
Yeah. But anyway, so we stayed in Jackson till 1946, after Tony was born. Went back to Salt Lake. We didn't like it there because every ad was LDS couple only as far as renting. LDS is the Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
And if you weren't a Mormon, you just didn't count. So we stayed there, and we come on back to Jackson, and we bought a house off of P-51 South.
P-51 South?
No.
Highway 51 South, yeah.
Yeah,
Terry Road.
P-51 went north, I
Yeah.
went south. And we stayed there till 1949. Went to work with Calvert Fire Insurance Company as an insurance adjuster. I was transferred to Greenwood, Mississippi. We stayed there about 2 years, and then I was transferred to Memphis, Tennessee. And we lived in an apartment in West Memphis, Arkansas, which was right across the river from Memphis. And it was mosquito heaven, I'll tell you. You'd have to park the car and run to the back door. And we stayed there till 1951. I was promoted and transferred to Atlanta, Georgia, as supervisor over Georgia, Florida, and part of South Carolina, and Tennessee, East Tennessee. Stayed there for about 2 years and was transferred to Jacksonville, Florida. Stayed there a year, was transferred back to Atlanta, and then I transferred from Atlanta to Memphis, Tennessee. And then they sold the company, and I went to work for National Claims Service, was the one that bought Calvert. And I stayed with them as a heavy equipment adjuster. And then the rumor was they were going to take away my accounts and give them to a long-term employee there, because I was making a lot of money. So I quit and took all my business with me. Your mother and I, Darlene and I, started our own business. The name was Tri-State Claims Service. And I handled that till 1987, I think it was. And I just got tired of driving. I was averaging 130,000 miles a year. I had a Chrysler LeBaron, had a Japanese engine in it. It was a good car. I drove it 130,000 miles. Then we moved to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and sold the car there. And we stayed there 3 months until it started turning cold. This place we rented, they wanted me to sign a lease, and the room that Tony was in was no heat. It was all glass. And we said no. So then we come back and closed the business, moved back to Germantown, rented an apartment there, and stayed there till 1993 when we bought our house on Apple Valley.
Not
Y'all remember that?
93.
He came over and spent Thanksgiving with,
Mhm.
come over with, when Susie had a gymnastic contest there.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed in that house till 19,
96.
88, wasn't it?
96.
Yeah, 96. And then we moved over here to Knoxville, bought our condominium, which is at Farragut, and we've been here ever since.
So you guys have been here 14 years now.
Pardon?
14 years you've been here.
Pardon?
14 years.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it'd been that long.
Almost 15 years. now,
Yeah.
Yeah. I quit smoking in 1995, and I haven't smoked since. And we've been to Hendersonville 2 or 3 times.
So who's your favorite grandchild?
Oh, their names are Robert, Amy, and Susie. Put them together, I can't pronounce it, but they're all 3 my favorites.
Who's your favorite great-grandchild?
Well, their name is Sam, Bo, and Ellie.
Salmonella.
Got to mush them all together too, right?
Yeah.
All right.